Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest Monday review from Gills in the Blood TV. We are recording on Saturday night, so if you do hear myself or Rhys reference it as today's game, that is why we have recorded straight after, well, sort of half hour after the full-time whistle, because let's be honest, if we left it any longer, we'd forget about it completely, or at least try. 0-0 in our latest game, Rhys, against a Hartlepool side that had not won in the league since March, had not tasted victory on their own patch since February. Another limp, sorry attacking performance from the Gills. Clean sheet and a point on the road in isolation, I think, is a decent result. But considering who we were up against, it's another very poor show from the Gills, unfortunately, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's unbelievable. So, like you say, like Hartlepool haven't won in such a long time. It reminds me of when we played AFC Wimbledon at the start of the season. They hadn't won for a long time as well. So, we made Hartlepool look really good today. But like if you're going up to go up to Hartlepool, like you say, in isolation, it's a pretty good result. But the fact that we haven't scored and it's 0-0 and it's just all in all, it's just summarising our season. The thing is, we've actually got up a place in the table today as well, which I think's
Two, I think.
unbelievable. Is it
Two,
two?
I think, yeah, because Crawley and Colchester have dropped below us. But for some context, Gills fans, we've got 5 points this season, I think, or six.
Yeah.
Four of them have come against Rochdale, that were bottom at kickoff, and Hartlepool, that have now gone bottom of the league, I think.
Yeah.
So that tells you where we're at. Right, let's go all the way back to 2 o'clock, like we do, Rhys. Anyway, team
Yep.
news got announced. There was three changes, I think it was, from the
Hmm.
Mansfield horror show. Elkan Baggott, international duty. Haji Minoga dropped to the bench, and Lewis Walker dropped to the bench as well. So that was the three that came out of the 11. Will Wright, Ryan Law, and Scott Cashkett all reinstated in what looked like a 4-4-1-1 or a variation of it.
Yeah, it looked a little bit like that. And I actually, when I saw the team sheet come out, I saw you tweet it, and I thought, actually, do you know what? Those three changes made complete sense to me. It's
Mhm.
nice to see Ryan Law back in the team. And obviously, when you got, I can't believe we've got an international duty going to Indonesia. For me, that's unbelievable, but we do.
Well, we did
uh,
have two.
yeah, right.
Haji Minoga was called up, but
Yeah.
decided to. They allowed him to stay. That was good of him, wasn't it?
Oh,
After
that
his first two
nice.
performances.
But I saw the team sheet and I thought, do you know what? Right, it looks okay. I'm relatively satisfied. That's the best that we can put out based on the situation and the teams and the players in the squad that we have. So, for me, that was okay. I don't know what you
Yeah,
make
yeah,
of
I
the
totally agree. I
situation.
didn't. I didn't think it was a poor side. I wanted us to go to a back four. I thought if we
Yeah.
went with a back three, you was going to have someone playing on the wrong side of a three. I know
Hmm.
Max Emar had to play the wrong side of a two, so to speak, but I think it's easier to move just over one when you're playing in a back four rather than a back three. Plus, I wouldn't have liked him to have come out of the middle of that three because I think his lack of pace would have been exposed. But we'll get on to Max Emar a bit later, I'm sure.
Hmm.
First half screamed two teams that are near the bottom of the table, low on confidence, low on points, one that
Yeah.
can't score, one that couldn't stop conceding. Let's
Yeah.
be
That
honest, it had 0-0 or board draw written all over it, didn't it?
Yeah, right from the start, I was looking at some of the predictions across all of Twitter and across all of the betting shops, and it was like the odds of 0-0 were like you won't get anything for your buck with those bets, like because that was such the likelihood of it coming through, and it did. So, but no, it was always going to be a drab game. It was. I tell you what, it was either going to be 0-0 or 5-5. That's what it was going to be.
Yeah, I think I said that on the preview, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think it was always more likely that it was going to be
yeah,
another
0-0.
goalless afternoon for the Gills.
Yeah.
We created the first chance. I think the first chance of note anyway. That was Robbie McKenzie. Ball sort of fell to him on the edge of the box. Good little drag
Mm.
back round his man, and I thought he could have just released it. I thought Cashkit was in a good bit of space on the edge of the 6 yard box, but he tried to skip round. I think it was Alex Lacey, former Gills defender, who
Yeah.
made a good tackle. In fairness, and the chance went. Um, Aside from that, there wasn't a great deal. Again, I think there was a Will Wright corner that landed sort of at the top of the net that went straight out. Um,
But the fact that we're struggling to find things that we were doing is the thing here. Like this is the problem. Is
mhm.
and particularly notable. Well, it was more noticeable in the second half. We'll come to that, but in the first half, there's an opportunity. You're away from home, and you're a team that's really struggling, leaking a lot of goals. You want to pounce early, and we just weren't creating anything up front to be able to do it. We just did again, like Mansfield, just didn't look threatening. Our attacking prowess in comparison to Mansfield was pretty much the same, if not. I don't know. There was not much between the performance up front. but against Mansfield and today against Hartlepool. So the only thing that was different was probably a little bit better at the back. But this is where the problem lies: is we were expecting to concede a goal maybe here and there, but you've got to put a couple in the back of the net. At least look threatening. But first half, that wasn't happening.
No, it's a worrying trend, isn't it? And it's 2 in 10. So if you base that on a whole season, we're looking at scoring around 9 goals.
Oh God, I didn't really think of it like that.
My
goodness me.
2 in 10 would be 4 in 20, 8 in 40.
That is not good.
That's the chain. The only other chance I can think of is Adela Kuhn, didn't he? He'd sort of jinked past his man and then blazed one over into that terrace behind the goal.
Yeah.
They probably had the 2 best chances of the first half. They had the cutback, I think, was Mikael and Jolly, and I think I can't remember who it was, but it might have been Josh Amira got in front of his man, but he was sort of outside the near post and would have done well to get it on target. And then right at the end, Wes McDonald, I think, cut inside a couple of players and got a shot off, and I thought Ryan Law did really well to block. There was another block, I think, from Ben Reeves last ditch when he got across and slid to make the block.
Yes.
So that was it. Hartlepool was so poor. They had the 2 best chances, but they were really poor apart from that, I thought.
Yeah, so I thought it was two poor teams coming at each other and have nothing to show for whatever effort they were putting in. But I got to say, actually, that shot that McDonald had for Hartlepool right before half time, I mean, it beat Glenn Morris hands down. And the fact that Laura's read that and managed to get back and get that cleared off the line, for me, actually, was one of the best plays of the game for Gillingham. Was that moment, because I thought that was dead and buried when it went past Morris. I didn't really see Law come across. I thought it was in the back of the net, and he appeared out of nowhere. So he's read that pretty well just to keep us in this game at least before half time. Yeah,
great awareness. And like you say, it would have changed both team talks, wouldn't it? And they'd have got the crowd up, and we'd have been in a similar situation chasing a game with a side that's very blunt, unfortunately. But it was 0-0 at the break. We had 15 minutes relief. We could go and do something else. I unfortunately sat there and wrote up notes for this Monday review in the interval. So I had to think about the whole first half again, which was great fun.
Oh, I bet it was fun.
No changes at the break. And you spoke about wanting to start fast in the first period, get on the front foot, push them back, expose their lack of confidence. We got in really early in the second period, but again, Scott Cashgit drags a shot harmlessly wide that's troubled the corner flag, I think, more than the net. And again, that sums up us up as an attacking threat at the moment, didn't it? No real conviction in the effort.
Well, the problem with that one is I thought, we've got a chance going forward. The first 60 seconds of that second half. And again, he just takes an extra touch he doesn't need to have. And this is just a lack of confidence. He puts his foot through that as early as possible. And the keeper's in all sorts of problems if that's on target. But he's thinking about his game too often and not doing it instinctively, and that is the problem with our guys up front at the moment. They're just thinking about their game and overplaying the situations too much, and I think that's what we're seeing at the top, and that's causing digging a hole for us, and the reason why we have such an abysmal goal scoring record this season.
Yeah, and the longer it goes on, the worse it's going to get, unfortunately, isn't it, off here? And that's the biggest concern for all of us at the moment. Like you say, it's a horrendous record, and there's no real sign of it getting better. Like you say, we're not creating clear-cut chances. We're snatching at the little ones that we do get. We're relying on set pieces and long throws, but we didn't do anything with them. I thought Ben Reeves today's delivery was really poor. The throw-ins they cleared fairly easily as well, I thought. We never really made the first contact, did we? Everything that was chucked into their box, Hartlepool won the first contact and defended fairly comfortably.
I mean, the only chance that we had from assist was probably from the wind. Actually, that probably had more of a chance of coming in and getting an assist for us. But no, that's always an advantage for Hartlepool, actually, whatever the weather conditions are, because they know what it's like. But still, for me, no excuse. You keep the ball on the floor, then, in my opinion. But it is what it is, but it just wasn't great up front across the whole of the second half today.
No, you're right. And again, we can't reiterate it enough. It's something that has to change, and it has to change really quickly, or we're in for a very long, very poor season again. Just looking at notes that I've made, next big chance came for Hartlepool. I think it was Rhys to Multi. The ball got played in from their left-hand side.
Yeah.
Sailed over the head, wind assisted to the centre backs, which was one of the rare occasions. In fairness, there is a positive Gills fans. We will try every week. Who I thought were very good, defended our 18-yard box and our 6-yard line very well. Maxima and Will Wright, and we'll talk about them later on in the show. But this was one that evaded them, and I thought Ryan Law was trying to get on the cover, but it sort of hit to Milty, didn't it, and went back out for effectively a goal kick or a throw in. I just don't think he was aware that the ball was actually going to reach him, and that was quite a big let off early on in the second half.
Yeah. It was a big let off, and but that's when Hartlepool started to come into the game a little bit more, and I think that opportunity is what started to build their momentum in the second half. And from that moment onwards, it was just one-way traffic for Hartlepool possession and moving forward. But yeah, it was that was for me, it was a turn. That particular chance was starting to be a turning point in the game where I thought, okay, we need to just try and get a point from this game now because it's
Yeah.
not looking too sprightly at the moment. Yeah.
I've written after that big Glenn Morris save from Mikel and Jolly header. Comfortable height. He should save it. I'd be disappointed if he didn't. But then I've written deeper and deeper. Everything coming straight back at us. I couldn't believe the amount of times I've said this on Twitter to someone. I think Matt Phipps, who does the little highlights clips throughout the game. I lost count of the amount of times, Rhys, that I was shouting at the TV to say, someone just come and get it short off of Glenn Morris, because he kept looking, and all you could see was Gills players just turning their back on him and running.
Yeah.
And all we kept doing was punting it down the middle. Mika Mandron didn't win the first contact. Their header cleared the midfield three, and suddenly they were turning and running towards our 18-yard box again. But what's the definition of insanity?
Yeah,
Keep asking the same question, expecting a different answer.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. We weren't creating an outball for anyone, and that got worse and worse. As the time went on in that second half, particularly, I mean, when it was about 60 and 70 minutes into the game, at least, Mandron occasionally would win something and we'd start pushing up a little bit, but then we'd lose position. But the last sort of like 20 minutes of that wasn't happening. There was no outball whatsoever, and the ball was just
as an extra
going to
centre half
Hartlepool
in injury time.
Yeah.
I thought that's
where we are.
Back. Where we are.
Yeah.
Our centre forward, our number 9, is playing as a centre back because we're that poor. I've not got many more notes for the second half. I'm not going to lie, because I've put midfield bypass. I thought the commentary, Peter Lloyd and Ben Watts were on Radio Kent duty today, and they said that Ben Reeves and Sean Williams and Stuart O'Keefe controlled the game first half. I thought they all got worse the longer the game went on. And I'm a big fan of Sean Williams, and I've said he's a couple of times early on in pre-season, I called him the composer amongst the chaos. But I thought all three were really bang average today. And
they were.
I know a lot of the game went over their head, but when they had it, they just gave it away or put it out into touch, and it just never gave us a foothold in that second half. That was my opinion.
Yeah, me too. I think they were very forgettable today. I'm very disappointed with Ben Reeves' delivery of set pieces into the box, because if we're going to get a lot of set pieces in this division, and if we're not getting anyone to any decent delivery into the box, and how are we ever going to attack something there? But for me, those Sean Williams, Ben Reeves, and there was nothing in the centre. It was easily a forgettable performance from these players in the midfield for me.
Yep, spot on. The final point I've put big Glenn Morris save again, the one with his feet where the lad jinked inside. I thought that was a better save than the one from the Njoli header. Made himself big. And that was, I think that was in injury time. That would have been game over. We'd have lost 1-0.
Yeah, just want to say on that save at the end really did. So that reminded me of the save. Was it a Walsall at the end of the game where he made a one-on-one save?
Yes,
I think, or it might be
right,
Swindon. It might be Walsall. He made it, and I thought again that's a match-winning save. There were two players on the line actually behind him, but he's a first-line defence. If it goes through the goalkeeper, it's a bit tricky. So he made himself big, and he kept us again in the game, especially as time went on as well, where Hartlepool were really just it was one-way traffic. And he did his job really well.
Yeah, he did. He was very good again, Glenn Morrison. We'll get on to Gills' man of the match and Gillingham ratings in a minute. My last 4 words in terms of us, I've written no shots on target. We've said it, this has to change. We asked a similar question last week. How does it change? Because Neil Harris comes out every week and he says he's been honest, and I think he has. I get that. But he can't keep saying we've got to work hard in training. They're scoring for fun. I sort of sat there and laughed to myself at full time. I said I never thought I'd say the day where I thought Gillingham would play like England. That was purely because I thought Gillingham would never get that good, not because England would become so inept. But it's not fun watching my club or my country at the moment, unfortunately. But how long can we keep accepting Neil Harris saying, "Oh, they're working hard in training"? Because it's 2 goals in 10 games, and we're 5th bottom, and we're 2 games away from Neil Harris coming out in his most recent interview and saying, "Judge me after 12."
Well, here's the thing. You can always say they're working hard and training, they're putting a lot of effort in training, but actually no one ever sees the effort. Actually, what you see is the end result. So no matter how much effort you put in, if the end result isn't changing, then that's the most important bit. So actually it's the end result that needs to change. No matter how much effort you do or don't put in, it doesn't matter. The end result is the thing that everyone sees and everyone is judging everyone on. So if we're not putting it in the back of the net, if we're not making any changes to what we're doing up front, then it's just I don't care how much effort they're putting in training. He can't keep saying that. It's absolutely right. But yeah, I can't put my finger on what needs to change up front, but something needs to. I don't know if you
Does
have
it
any
have to?
ideas either, but
Does it have to be personnel? I think we've become so sort of obsessed with having to start Mika Mandron that because you have to play a big man, little man, it's traditionally a good idea. But he's so far off it again, Mika. And
yeah.
I'm a big fan of Mika. I thought it was a really good signing.
Mm.
But is there a case to just to take him out the starting 11 for Sutton at home next week and maybe go with, I don't know, Walker and Cashkit, or
Yeah,
even just
I
play
mean,
Cashkit through the middle and get an extra winger in? We
I
don't know
think
what the answer is.
I think there needs to be something completely different up front. I think put the three little strikers up front. Get it Adelakin, get Kashket, and get Walker. Just have something really different up front.
Mm.
I remember from my childhood, I think Chelsea once had three small strikers up front, and they caused chaos in the late 90s. I think Dennis Wise might have been one of them. And I think
Right.
just get something like that up front, just something completely unexpected, and see what happens. Give Mandron a bit of a break, give him a respite, and let him look for the game from a distance, and then move on. But because we do seem to be reliant on him being up front, and everything seems to staple around him. I like the man, and I like what but at the moment, I think Harris needs to change something up front, because obviously what's happening here is not working. I don't care how much effort you're putting into something. If you're doing bad practice, then nothing good's going to come out of it. So something needs to change in terms of what it looks like moving forward against Sutton up front, especially next week.
Yeah, and that's it, because they can come out and say, oh yeah, they're scoring for fun in training, but that's against essentially your mates. They're not going to be jumping into tackles. They're not going to be trying to,
Yeah,
they're not going to be putting as much pressure on you as an opposing defender in a game. So big
yeah.
questions for Neil Harris again, and another performance, unfortunately, Gills fans, that probably poses more questions than answers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the positive is a clean sheet in isolation. Yes, a positive is the draw and that we moved up 2 places, but that's because more teams were probably just about more inept than us over this weekend than anything about our performance. Hartlepool weren't much better, Rhys. So I'm going to try and talk about who I thought was their best player. I've called it Heartbeat. That's appallingly
Okay.
unoriginal, but I couldn't think of. I didn't want to go Hartlepool hero because there was no one that deserved hero status, and I couldn't think anything
No.
to go along with Paul or. I've written mine down. I know you've probably got notes as well. We might be
Yeah.
the same. I went with Wes McDonald this week.
Are you interesting? Okay, I didn't go with Wes McDonald this week. I went. Yeah, we got something different. I went with Regan to Milty on the other side.
Yeah, he was decent as well.
Yeah.
Go on, you go through your reasons first, then for Tamilty.
I just thought, particularly the second half, I thought most of the play was going down the right hand side wing, and a lot of play of Hartlepool's was that, and I thought that's where their threat lied, and that was, and along with, is it Silla? I think it's the other one in the centre. I thought those two worked really well together. And I thought they, as good as McDonald was and was creating lots of opportunities, I just thought they looked more threatening from the other side today. And that literally was the difference why I think that. But like you say, it's like splitting hairs at the moment with that Hartlepool team as well. Let's be honest. But that's where I want to put Tumulty or Cilia as man the match for me on the right hand side for Hartlepool.
Yeah, and invariably with a better touch for that early chance in the second half, Tamilty could have ended up being the match winner. I'm just
Exactly.
looking at his stats. Yeah, he had 2 key passes, 50% cross completion, 53 touches, played the full 90. It's about 33% long ball accuracy. Did his defensive bit as well. I just thought Wes McDonald was, again, and it's similar to the lad last week that we said for Mansfield. He was just everything we wanted our players to be,
Yeah.
and that was to be brave and incisive and trying to get on the outside and get to the byline and get balls into a dangerous area.
And he was putting in some good crosses actually as well. And I think his passing accuracy was about 80% or somewhere around there. That I did happen to read, so it was pretty solid
Yes,
actually from
it
Wes
was. Yeah,
McDonald as well.
yeah, 3
So
key passes.
mhm.
And he won 42% of his defensive duels as well, which meant that he was doing stuff the other way. And also,
Yeah,
again, similar to Multi, he was a goal line clearance away from winning in the game.
exactly.
But yeah, so that was our choices. Obviously, Gills fans and Hartlepool fans, if you are watching, just let us know you thought your picks were for best Hartlepool player. We now move back to the Gills. Some might not say that's a good thing. Gills, what do we do? Do we do man of the match first? I can't remember.
I can't remember. Should we do man the match first?
Let's do man of the match. No, let's do player ratings because
Okay.
I've got some that are the same, so then it won't give it away.
Oh, that's true. All right.
We'll go through it. Professional as ever.
We do our best.
I've gone. I'm just trying to find my tweet. 2 seconds, because I can't understand my own scribble.
Yeah.
Right, starting 11. We'll go through it player by player then. Again, it's not something that we want to dwell on too much because it was another fairly subdued performance. I've gone Glenn Morris, solid 7. 2 big saves. One I'd expect him to make, be disappointed. The one with his legs I thought was very good, and I just thought everything else that he had to do, he did fairly comfortably. It was a fairly routine afternoon for Glenn Morris.
Yeah, no, I gave him a 7.5 actually, because I thought that key save at the end, it really did keep Gills in the game, and Hartlepool could have got that right at the end and got the 3 points. So for me, I gave him a 7.5 actually.
Fair enough. No problem with that at all. We start from right back and work our way across the back four. I did Robbie McKenzie 6.5, battled on after that head injury. Didn't really get us forward as much as we'd like. His throw-ins were probably pretty much ineffective, but yeah, solid enough.
Yeah, okay,
much of a muchness, I think.
Yeah, I gave him a 6. I thought it was for Robin McKenzie, he can perform a lot better. But yeah, but a 6 for me. But I wonder if that head injury might have affected his game a little bit. I don't know.
Potentially, yeah. Mate just looked like he was playing within himself a little bit. That'd be the best way to describe it. Will Wright and Max Emer, I gave them both the same rating, so I'm going to do this as a collective. I gave them both a 7. I thought they stood up to everything really well. Mikel and Jolly got withdrawn after about an hour, which says that basically they managed to keep him out of the game, I think.
Yeah.
It was a new partnership, obviously, with Elkan Baggott being away, and I thought they were very, very good as a pairing.
I thought they were very good as a pairing as well. I mean, I would give them both, if we were to round it up, about a 7. But if one was slightly better, I actually thought Max performed relatively well today, considering the amount of pressure's been under recently, the club as a centre back. So I thought, he did all right today. If there was going to be split in theirs, I'd give him like a 7.1 or something like that over Wright, who got a 7.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I totally agree. I think obviously there's us as a fan base, we tend to have a scapegoat every season, don't we? And I think it's Max's turn, unfortunately. Maybe scapegoat's not the wrong word before I get shot down, Gills fans. But yeah, he's probably been the one that's under the most pressure this season. And I thought he stood up really well today. Left back, Ryan Law. I thought he struggled at times during the game. I thought he got isolated. He was struggling with Tumulty a little bit, and he kept getting doubled up on. But I thought I gave him 6.5, the same as McKenzie. I thought McKenzie was probably slightly better in general play, but obviously there was the big goal line clearance that ultimately kept us in the game and kept our clean sheet intact.
We have finally a big difference of opinion here, because I've given him a 7.5.
Fair enough. Some controversy. Here we go.
So I thought, actually, it's about time. I actually thought he performed out of the back four, the best out of those back four. I thought in more isolated moments of the game, which were key. So obviously the header off the line, he put a good couple of blocks in as well, which I look back at some of the replays and I thought, yeah, actually he's doing the silent left back position, but his instinctiveness today was what set him apart for me. And I thought he did a lot better on McKenzie, and I thought he supported Max Emer really, really well as a centre back. For me, I thought just his isolated moments that are really important in keeping the game as 0-0 for me was good. And he was trying to play nice football going from through as well. He was trying to be a bit more attacking here and there, and I thought that was something I was really impressed with Ryan Law. It wasn't like the Grimsby game. He was better in the Grimsby game, but I still thought he was worthy for me for a 7.5 actually. So we have a bit of a difference of opinion.
No, that's fine. Fair enough. That's what I like, and this is why I asked you to come on and do this show, because it gives people different opinions rather than just having to accept mine or just hear mine at the very least. We've already mentioned the middle three: Williams, O'Keefe, and Reeves. I've given them all the same rating. I thought they were all very much of a muchness. At times you thought they was threatening to gain control, and then they'd overhit a pass or underhit a pass or underhit a free kick or a corner in Reeves' case. I gave them all 5.5s. I thought they was all as average as each other, really.
Yeah, same. I gave them all 6. I did the same. I just thought it was just their rate. They didn't do anything special, but they didn't do anything absolutely horrible. It was just, my description is all 3 of them unforgettable. They were forgettable. Sorry, just all forgettable. And as a result of that, their rating just stayed the same as they walked on the pitch from minute 1. So it was a 6 for me all the way through.
Fair enough. Yep. So pretty much the same lines that one. Let's look at the wide men. I'm going to go on the right hand side first. Haki Badella-Kuhn. Obviously, we all panicked he was going to be playing as a wing back when the team was announced at 2 o'clock, but he did play higher up. It's another player that you can see he's got loads of natural ability, can go both sides, he's got good feet, just not seeing it consistently enough. I thought he was probably our biggest attacking threat. When he was good, he was very good, but there was other times, I think there was a couple of runs first after he sort of tried to step over and stood on the ball or overran it, and he got all frustrated again, but he had the shot over the bar. For me, he looked the most likely out of the front players that started the game, so I gave him a 6.5.
Yeah, that's similar for me. So I gave him a 6, and you'll see why, but he was still the best out of all of those 3 moving forward. But I gave him a 6. I just thought he tried to overplay too much. But you're right, he did try to. It was the one that was most threatening out of all those 3. So I do agree with you, Matt, on that one. But it was but for me, yeah, I think he's still trying to overplay a little bit, and that's the problem, that it's letting him down. And particularly I saw that today, because he was a bit more of a threat than he has been in the past, and you can see signs of his ability coming through. But today, too much thinking on the ball, too much overplaying, and that's why I gave him a 6 in the end.
Comes back to that lack of confidence again, I think, unfortunately. Scott Casket started on the left. Sorry, I was
just like the game, like falling
drifting
asleep
off there somewhere, drifting off to a game where we score goals.
Yeah, right.
Scott Casket, I've got an idea you're going to be slightly lower than me based on what you said about Delucan, but I gave Scott a 6. I thought he done that job from the front where he presses the defence really well. There's a couple of times he pinched it and turned over possession. Again, the lack of confidence is hindering him, like it is all of us. So yeah, so just a 6 for me for Scott Casket, and I thought he'd done well to get through the game, considering he's just come back from a slight groin tweak.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I might be a bit harsher. I gave him a 5, actually. I thought, there's a couple of opportunities that he had to go forward and create something, but it's just this, again, lack of confidence, overthinking everything, and everything. It's just every time he goes forward, it's always exciting. He's bringing the ball forward, something's happening, and then it just goes to nothing. And I'm like, why is that? You need to be a bit more creative and a bit more instinctive with your play. And for me today, that just it was an epitome of his season, so far. It's just. That's why I gave him a 5. It was unimpressed, really, unfortunately.
And then the subject of a chat that we've already had, Mika Mandron, 5.5 from me. I can't fault the effort, but he's not winning enough here, really. Like I say, it just kept coming back to a second half because he wasn't winning anything. But we didn't change it up. So for me,
No.
He's not the only one who's culpable. Surely Neil Harris, Dave Livermore can say that. Say to the centre midfielder or the fullbacks, just come and take it to feet and play a different way, because that win was just bringing everything back towards the halfway line. But yeah, he's a couple of times he pinched it, threatened to set up a chance. I don't remember him having a shot.
No.
So for a number 9, that's never a good sign. 5.5.
Never a good sign. Yeah, 5. I gave him a 5 again. I thought it was a very breathy performance. And he just, I actually thought for about 20 minutes that he just looked tired. He just looked a little bit out of it. Like, I know he can give more. I know he's capable of more, but I just thought it's like he had 4 hours sleep. That's how it felt to me when I was watching Mandron. And it was a bit out of character the way he was playing today. And he was trying to do the right things, but again, there was no end product. And unfortunately, that's why I gave him a 5. And I might be a bit harsh today. I don't know. Maybe that's how I feel.
It grinds you down, unfortunately, doesn't it, Rhys?
Yeah.
Having to watch us at the moment, and that's a real shame to be saying that, but we can't pretend otherwise. Like we've said, we're 5th bottom. We don't score enough. We concede slightly too many, and we don't create enough either. So, Gills man of the match. I think we're going to be different. So I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, I actually went. It was between 2 for me. It was between Glenn Morris and Ryan Law for me. And I think it's a really tough one for me to decide, because they were important in defence for me. But I'm going to go Ryan Law. I thought he was the best out of that bunch at the back for me. And that might be controversial to people watching this, but for me, I just thought he was pretty solid and was trying to play the right football and had a big impact on that game in keeping it 0-0, alongside Glenn Morris. So who, if I give Ryan Law 7.5, I give pretty much Glenn Morris 7.4, really. But it was those 2 for me, and that's why I would give Ryan Law man of the match today. But I think you probably got something slightly different.
I've gone similar. It was between 2, and I was lazy and said I'm not going to differentiate. I went with the centre back pairing. Excuse me. I thought for a new pair, I can't remember the last time they played together. It might have been one of the pre-season friendlies in a 2. I just thought both of them were very good. They dealt with everything that come into our box, like I've said. They headed everything away. They made their tackles. They put their feet in. So yeah, I did it as a joint award between Will Wright and Maxime. I both played 90 minutes. 8 clearances between them, 3 block shots, 10 interceptions, 2 tackles. They was only dribbled past once as well, which I think is always a good sign that people are not getting on the outside and getting in behind. They won 50%, I think it was, of their ground duels between them, and 73% in the air. So I thought both of them were very impressive in an area where we have looked a bit suspect, with Minoga coming in and being an accident waiting to happen, and Elkan Baggett still showing signs of inconsistency, and like we've already mentioned, Maxime being a target for the fans, and
Mhm.
understandably so at times this season. I'm not saying that he's been very good, you know, across all the games. He's had his moments where he's been very poor, but you know, who hasn't in this squad at the moment, unfortunately. So that's the reason today I went with centre backs.
And actually, it's not a bad shout because they played a lot of the game with yellow cards as well, and that's
Mm-hmm.
another a weight of the game, which I can see why you would select those two as a good pair as man in the match. But yeah, to play for a period of the game on yellow cards is much. It's very tricky as a centre back because you go half, 50% in a lot of tackles when normally you go 100%. So, in fairness, to be able to do that as well and to keep a clean sheet, it's not a bad pairing. I was impressed with it as well. It was very tight between the back four and the goalkeeper today for me choosing man of the match. It was very close.
And it sums up where we're at as a team again,
Yeah,
doesn't it? Because
it
we've
does.
mentioned the left back, the goalie, two centre backs as contenders for man of the match, and we've given essentially the attackers all below average ratings, which is a concern. We keep saying it when we're sorry that we sound like we're just pressing Control, Alt, Delete, and copy and paste because it's not fun talking about another substandard performance and another
No.
goalless game and another performance that's, you know, against a poor team that we should be doing better in. But we can only say it as we've seen it, and that's what we're trying to do, and we hope you appreciate that, Gills fans. That's probably it from us for this Monday review.
I think so.
Lots of work on the training round again before Saturday's home game against Sutton United. Go and check out Rhys's video if you've not already. It would have been up for a couple of days now by the time this goes live. I will have watched it by the time this goes live on Monday morning. Yes, I'll be back later in the week, hopefully with a Sutton fan to preview next weekend's game. I keep saying it, but you've surely all done it. Go and subscribe to Rhys. Go and follow him on Twitter because it's a brilliant channel. Gives a different perspective every week.
Thank you very
then
much.
We shall return next Saturday. Hopefully, Boz will be fit to resume. Oh, that reminds me. Fit to resume, Rhys. Quickly, before we go,
Yes.
just on that part about the middle three, Reeves, Williams, O'Keefe, you said Manjon looked tired. I think that middle three looked on the verge of maybe not being burnt out, but there's a real concern with the fact that Ollie Lee and Dom Jeffries' injuries are ongoing. And I think Neil Harris has said Ollie Lee's return date, we don't know. We need someone like Dom Jeffries. I'm not saying, you know, he's the lifesaver and he's going to turn our season around, but we just need some legs in there, surely.
We do, absolutely. I get frustrated each week when I don't see Dom Jeffries on at least being talked about going back into the squad, and Ollie Lee just not being here as well. And that really frustrates me every week that I look at the team sheet and I don't know what the forecast is of this moving forward. But you're right, Stuart O'Keefe, Ben Rhys, Sean Williams are looking a little bit burnt out, and lest we forget, like Sean Williams, what's he, 36 now, pushing 37, like, you know, and Stuart O'Keefe, you know, isn't young, and nor is Ben Rhys. Let's be honest. So you can see why the burnout there is more likely compared to if you have like a load of 22-year-olds playing in the center of the park. So yeah, that is a concern. And a breathy performance from Mandron could be the similar experience for these guys next week against Sutton if they play again like that. Hopefully not, but we'll have to wait to find that one out, I think.
Yeah, we need them back as quick as possible, both Jeffries and Lee. And maybe before we finish up, I promise we are going this time, Gills fans. Maybe there's a case for persisting with Robbie McKenzie in the middle of the park just to give one of them a break and just give us more legs and a bit more youthful exuberance in the middle of the park. You know, he's got plenty of experience, McKenzie, but he's only early 20s still, and the others are, as Rhys alluded to, the wrong side of 30, unfortunately, and old father time catches up with everyone ultimately at the end of the day. Right. I hope your week's not too stressful. We will score a goal at some point this season, I promise.
It will happen.
Until next time, up the Gills.
Up the Gills.